Welcome back to Regional Championship 8 here at Sydney, Australia. My name's Jim Dowling. I'm joined by Lee Hong Nguyen. We are here for the top 4 of this weekend's Regional Championship. We started with 155 players. We've got 4 of them left. We're going to figure out who we're sending to the World Championships. Let's head down to the table. Alrighty, we have on the right, Zen Miyaji Thorne. On the left, Nicholas Talbot.
Nicholas Talbot is playing Hollow One today, and we're versing Grinding Breach, which I have not seen this matchup done in person yet. We get to feature this really cool matchup. But if you like rolling dice, you're in for a treat today.
Look, we did see round 1, we had the Hollow One deck featured. That was playing against Blue-Black Mill at the time. This is going to be a very different matchup, I feel. The Hollow One deck looking to get out early, put a Marauding Mako onto the board perhaps, and then start running these cards like Burning Inquiry to mess with the opponent's hand as well as just grow that shark. And of course, follow it up with some Hollow Ones, Vengevines maybe out of the graveyard. But Zen is on the play here. First seed, undefeated with Grinding Breach this weekend. Going with Mishra's Bauble, Mox Opal, Tamiyo, no land.
No land keep? Zen.
Oh, this is juicy.
Right. Now, it's kind of interesting with Mishra's Bauble because it kind of makes your deck like a 56 card deck, right?
Yep.
They just replace themselves. And not many people playing Chalice in the meta at the moment, but Zen keeping a no-lander, he is feeling very adventurous today, folks.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that Zen's got a second Mox Opal to back this first one up. But, I mean, I really don't know what to say. You could crack these baubles and try to find a land off that, but you really don't want to do that until this Mox Opal's back online. If this Tamiyo got to attack and make a clue, then I guess there's more in that. But we do see here Nick cracking a fetch land, grabbing a Blood Crypt, and going with a Fatal Push. Let's get that Tamiyo off the battlefield. Let's make it hard for you to keep Metalcraft.
100%, and that Tamiyo is just one of the most powerful cards in Modern, especially if you're left unchecked. So that was 100% the right play to do. And Nicholas here, he doesn't care about his... Oh, you're right, another Mox. He doesn't care about his life. He's just like, you're going to take forever to try to kill me in life total, so I'm just going to fetch shock and kill anything on sight.
Mox Opal was banned just a few weeks ago. Unbanned. It was on the ban list a few weeks ago, and now we're just seeing multiple copies of it in single games across our quarterfinal and into our semi-final as well. You're right, the second Mox Opal played for a Malevolent Rumble, revealing 3 lands and another Rumble.
Surprisingly, in Modern Horizons 3, we got this mythic common here, Rumble, but we also got the addition of Meltdown. We have not seen that many Meltdowns in the deck list today at the RC8 in Sydney. So, he's found the land, probably off the Rumble, I assume, and then he's playing at Emery.
So Emery milling over Preordain, Rumble, Breach, Urza's Saga. So that's 3 Rumbles in the graveyard now, but notably only 1 artifact in the graveyard for that Emery, being that Mox Opal. We could, of course, put a Mishra's Bauble there at any time if we want to.
Well, technically, I think, is Zen hellbent? I'm not sure if he's left with no cards in his hand, but he technically can do the line of sacking the Mishra's Bauble and getting a lot of value off Emery, right? Just drawing 2 cards a turn, using that interaction there.
It looks like he had 1 more in hand, being the Soul Guide Lantern, which is played out as well, and taking out this Fatal Push from the graveyard. What's the relevance of that? Is there anything in the Hollow One deck that would care about this Fatal Push being in the graveyard?
Zero.
Right.
But I think Soul Guard Lantern, having it in the opener, and with this being open deck list, it's really important because he knows that if he's trying to get Hollow Ones in play, if he's doing any graveyard shenanigans, the Soul Guard Lantern can just take care of that and blanket for 2 turns.
Sure. We see a Lightning Bolt here on turn 2, taking out that Emery as well. Let's just leave your opponent here with no resources. Maybe again trying to convince Zen to crack these Mishra's Baubles, and we see a main deck Nihil Spellbomb out of Nicholas's deck.
Right. And it's kind of funny, right? And I was only just kidding about the Soul Guide earlier, but yeah, there is so much graveyard relevance in Modern now that people are playing Soul Guide. They're playing Spellbomb in the main just to deal with such the powerful effects and strategies that people are using the graveyard for. Like you said earlier, the graveyard is essentially is your second hand.
Definitely. I don't know what was seen there off the Mishra's Bauble, but Zen now up to 2 cards in hand. I see an Urza's Saga. That's a good way to recover from, sort of going all in on this graveyard and then getting it blown up by a spell bomb. Saga can single-handedly sort of provide its own game plan, but we also see a grinding station.
Yeah, so it was really important here that Nicholas was able to get rid of the Emery because Emery just left unchecked occurs so much value, especially with the Mishra's Bubble. So it was very timely that Nicholas was able to have the Lightning Bolt ready to kill the Emery before it could activate. But yeah, both players have graveyard interaction and hate for each other's opponent. But the thing in here is that Zen has developed his graveyard way more than Nicholas. So I wonder here is Nicholas going to get any threats in play? Because that's kind of what he wants, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? All we've seen from Nick so far is remove your creature, remove your creature, remove your graveyard. We haven't seen anything from Nick that can actually progress his own game plan.
Now, the interesting thing is we can see his hand sometimes, and we know he has Goif in his hand. He has a Neither Goif in his hand. So it's interesting, but he's playing a very reactive plan.
And here we see an
Bowmaster.
upkeep Bowmasters because there's a Mishra's Bauble trigger on the stack.
Wonderful. Very smart, Nicholas.
That's cute. That's the strangest timing for a Bowmaster that I've seen in a long time. So drawing off that Bauble, and then one, and the Bowmasters, and we're going to grow the Orc army a little bit as well.
Right.
So once again, 2 cards in hand here for Zen. Normally you'd be like, all right, let's find a breach and let's go to the races. But in this scenario, I don't think a breach would be good enough in the face of the Nihil Spellbomb.
Right. And also, just if I don't, do they draw them many cards from their combo? They don't, right? They just mill. It's like, does the Bowmaster affect the breach player here with what is in play?
No. It would affect you if you were looking to cash in this Soul Guide Lantern, or perhaps if you needed to value out. You could play these Mishra's Bauble from the graveyard for value, and the Bowmasters would limit your ability to do that. But I think, if there was a breach here, there wouldn't be going for value. You would just be going for the kill, especially with this Spellbomb now removed.
Yeah, so it seems like Nicholas has decided to just, I have an unchecked Bowmaster in play. I'm going to put 3 damage every turn. I'm going to just cash in this Spell Bomb before you do any more shenanigans. Because normally people will wait. They'll wait until they try to go off, and then you nuke it. But I wonder, Nicholas is just like, I want to draw a card and put on the pressure. Because I think he knows that if a breach gets played, maybe he can deal with it. I'm not sure.
I think what you say there about drawing the card and find some pressure to put on the board is exactly it. A breach off the top there for Zen may have constituted lethal even through the spell bomb by way of play the breach. As soon as it resolves, I have priority again. I'm going to recast the second breach from my graveyard.
Gotcha. Also, Zen also has the line here where he can make a construct token and start putting on pressure to Nicholas as well. So I guess he can't be chipping in for 3 damage every turn because the construct will just do something.
Well, the good news is it's no longer just 3 for turn. This Burning Inquiry will cause both players to draw 3 cards and discard 3 cards. If you've got no cards in hand, you still have to go through the process of drawing the cards.
And it's quite a synergy with Bowmaster, right?
That's right. If you're drawing cards when you're not supposed to be drawing cards, this Orcish Bowmaster is gonna get you.
Thank you, Lord of the Rings.
So here we see it. Very cool on turn 1 to sort of disrupt your opponent's keep. Very cool if you have cards that want to be discarded as well. And also absolutely fine with its synergy with Bowmaster.
Right.
see here. Randomly determining which cards are discarded from Nicholas's hand. Much easier process for Zen. Zen had 0 cards in hand, so drew 3 cards and discarded those 3 cards.
Yeah, and that should grow the Bowmaster, making that token a really big creature. Cool synergy though, because since Bowmaster has Flash, you could just end step and then do it, and then it's handy dandy.
All right, so that should put Zen down here to, I believe, 14 plus an attack with this Bowmaster and this army.
I wouldn't attack with the Bowmaster because you just get it blocked by the
the construct on the other
Yeah,
side. Sure,
you like, don't want to make that right. And also he can block and like sack it to the grinding station.
All right, the players have clarified the life total, so there is 13, and an attack for 5 with this army is the army. Would it come across
It would
again? Again in the face of Urza's Saga.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is that grinding station can do a lot of like interesting things. All right, you can make a construct, you can sack it, and then get some value off that, or you could just like not sack it and trade with the thing. It has so many different lines and angles that it gives you. So that's why the deck is so powerful. We haven't seen any Vengevines on Nicholas' side though yet.
Well, that may be because they're not in the deck.
That makes sense.
Nick choosing to play Nethergoyf instead.
Right. That's probably why. Makes sense. Oh, white-bordered mountain. Fantastic, Nicholas.
Wow, Nick forgot to bring mountains, went straight to the draft basic land box, and found the crustiest white-bordered land that he could find.
Although the artwork's nice.
It's a nice-looking mountain. It looks good. And being white-bordered, it's easy to find in your deck if you're specifically trying to search out your mountain.
All right, I think here we're seeing a Goblin Law. You draw 4 cards, right? And discard 3. So yeah, 2 mana, draw 4 cards. That seems pretty fun. But it's going to trigger the... it doesn't trigger the Bowmaster. It just triggers randomness of being able to like put more things in the graveyard.
That's right. So the Burning Inquiry does affect both players. Goblin Law, just yourself. So again, you're really wanting synergies that involve discard cards, or cards that want to be in your graveyard, or cards that want you to discard cards. We haven't seen much of that yet. We haven't seen any Hollow One. We don't have a Mako in play. Those cards are streaming off the playmat and off our field of view, but we'll see what we can find out about what was discarded there.
So how much CMC do you have? In the yard with Brody, I've got
And Nick reorganizing the graveyard here, perhaps checking the size of Nethergoyf or something along those lines.
Well, yeah. I mean, Nethergoyf has escape, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do see a Nethergoyf in the graveyard there. Finally, something that cares about being in the graveyard, wants to be in the graveyard, wants to see a pile of other cards in the graveyard.
Yeah, for sure. And also, because it has a lot of Delirium synergies in Nicholas's deck. He has Fear of Missing Out, he has Detective's Phoenix, Nethergoyf. So there is a lot of graveyard calculations that Nicholas has to be doing every turn.
And let's talk about the timings here, right? There's a Nethergoyf in a graveyard, and Zen hasn't cracked this Soul Guide Lantern. Why could that be? Well, the Goblin Law resolved. Some cards were discarded, put into the graveyard, and that's the first moment that the Nethergoyf's in the graveyard. And Nick has priority. Nick has the ability to act before Zen gets to respond.
Which is a wonderful rules thing. If you're playing a bit of competitive Magic, you can learn about, just like how earlier some of the Breach players were able to play a Breach, it resolves. I have priority. I can cast my second Breach in the graveyard. And you essentially have first opportunity to do something before your opponent tries to do something.
That said, I believe the escape cost for the Nethergoyf may be too high here to be paid, if I'm not mistaken.
3 mana.
Hi, Nicholas.
Hello.
Yes, of course, being a 3 mana as well as the exiling cards from your graveyard.
Yeah, right.
Looks like the players are discussing something rules-wise at the moment, so perhaps we'll... they're back at the table.
I do love this interesting card that Nicholas has, which I guess a lot of people are playing it, but Mount Doom is a very flavorful card that has been printed recently in the Lord of the Rings set.
Is that what you have me at?
Yeah, so we see the fiddling in the graveyard there wasn't for the Nethergoyf, it was for the Detective's Phoenix to
Gotcha. Give a creature flying.
give this Orc army flying. And I tell you what, we were talking about whether the construct should block and get involved.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't have the option to.
Because this orc is flying in the air.
Zen down to 6. End of turn, making a construct. As we see there, you mentioned this Mount Doom.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts you when you use it, but you can give a legendary artifact. You can sacrifice a legendary artifact and give 2 creatures and try to destroy one. But yeah, it's a card that I don't see that often, but it's kind of funny because it can also kill people by activating, which is kind of cool.
Very cool flavor. All right, so Zen untaps, draws, wheels up this Urza Saga, makes a second construct on the way out. Is going to have to find a way to answer this Orc army. You know, you can have these constructs, they're fine, but your opponent's on 16, your opponent has a blocker, as well as a big flying creature.
There you go. Aether Spellbomb, and a really, really good card to bounce this token. Although it will give the Phoenix Spear the ability to fly, but it's just really nice. It cantrips, it bounces the creature, which is exactly what the Breach players want.
Well, I believe it only cantrips or bounces a creature. It doesn't have the ability to do both.
Yeah, right, sorry. Yeah, the players here investigating, looking at the graveyard because Nicholas has pretty good synergy in his deck to use both hand and graveyard cards.
And Zen does have the Soul Guide Lantern still sitting in play. It was put there on turn 2, I believe. But Zen has held steadfast. He hasn't activated that. Cashed it in for a card or the graveyard. Construct coming across, I count 7. 2 constructs, 2 moxes, and 3 other artifacts.
7, right? Yeah, 7. Well, that contract grew really fast, didn't it?
They
Especially
do.
from a no-land hand.
And we see the second Emery of the game. Milling over 4 cards. What do we have? Urza Saga,
Lands.
Scalding Tarn, Breeding Pool, Wooded Foothills.
That's a lot of lands.
We have to remember that this game started with Zen keeping a 0 land hand.
Right. I actually find the synergy here quite funny because, yes, he tapped the Mox Opal to cast the Emery, and the Mox Amber wasn't able to be tapped because there was no legendary creature or planeswalker in play. But because now the Emery's in play, he can now use the Aether Spellbomb to bounce using the Mox Amber mana.
True, yeah. Tapped all of the blue sources and then got an extra blue source after all is said and done.
A really nice heads-up play there.
And Zen, this is not Zen's first tournament. Zen knows that, say, if there was a removal spell pointed at the Emery, that, hey, we need to get this Mox Amber running. We won't see anyone making that sort of mistake.
Jim, I thought this Breach deck was a combo deck. Why do I see so many creatures attacking?
The only creatures that really attack from this Breach deck are these constructs and Tamio.
Tamio, right.
You know, either no damage or all of the damage.
Yeah, these cards, I'm sounding like an old man right now, but these cards, they all have lots of text on them these days.
Well, I mean, some of them... Aether Spellbomb is from 2003, I believe you'll find. 22 years old. Original Mirrodin set.
Oh yeah, I wasn't born yet.
What?
I'm just kidding.
There is players in the room. There was some players that had trouble getting into this venue because they're underage.
They had to have a guardian, right?
Younger than, say, the Zendikar set, for example. As this Arid Mesa being sacrificed.
Right. When was your standard?
I started playing around the first Innistrad.
Okay. Yeah. Same.
A second white-bordered mountain here. Nick really going for the ease of searching them out with the fetch lands. If that's the most common land you're searching for, then remove some monotony from it.
I'm surprised Nicholas doesn't have the red sleeves or the red deck. Yeah, he's got the yellow sleeves. Oh, he's got another Burning Inquiry in his hand.
Another Burning Inquiry in hand. I can't say what the second card is there. To be honest, if this Burning Inquiry is cast, then that second card is probably not going to be the same one in a minute's time.
Cool little synergy if, the second card was a Bowmaster. You can just, Bowmaster and Burning Inquiry. And then just, make people take 6. That's kind of wild. Now, the interesting fact here is Nicholas, I'm assuming the reason he doesn't want to cast Burning Inquiry is he doesn't want to, as another Texas Phoenix, he doesn't want to power the Emery even more, right?
So Detective's Phoenix, great to bestow on a creature, give that creature flying. It also can just get in on its own with its own
It
flying.
has haste. It's not a typical Phoenix that is forced to attack, I believe, but it has flying and haste.
Yeah, Flying Haste, we see it there, has the ability to come back from the graveyard, not as its own creature, but attached to a creature, and it'll rise from the ashes of that Orc army.
So what are your thoughts here about casting Bunukuru now and powering the Emery even more, right? Because technically an Emery can recast this bubble once Zen untaps, but, you know, what do you think it's doing? Apart from taking 3 damage, I guess it will put him on 1 and turn off all the fetches, I guess?
Yeah, I don't think...
It might be a good line. Because it stops his fetches, I guess, but I don't know, like, what are we doing here? There's no breach in his hand.
It also turns off any preordain, using it to
right.
kill the Emery.
He's just killing it, yeah, that makes sense.
It also would have had the ability to just turn off preordains or considers out of Zen's
True,
deck.
true, true. If he had put him on a 1, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I think killing the Emery is kind of important as well. It is a synergistic combo deck. Nicholas is on 8. He has lethal in the air because they're flying, and robots can't fly.
Not unless you attach a Phoenix to them, of course.
That's true. Yeah.
But we won't be seeing that one in this matchup.
I guess Zen could attack with both, see if he doesn't block for some bizarre reason. Nicholas could just chomp, and then attack with the Phoenix and win.
It's always worth going for the attack, because sometimes your opponent will just miscalculate something, maybe block one and not both, and leave themselves open to a lightning bolt or something like that. It's always worth, even if it's just a 1% line for your opponent to make the mistake, and that's higher than the 0% line of not attacking and just being dead on board.
Yeah, I've always learned in competitive Magic is you always put the ball in their court. You always put the decision on your opponent to make the mistake. Because like even though it was pretty obvious, they might change their mind and do something else.
I've seen it happen. I've seen, my only out here is that my opponent doesn't think and doesn't block. And then the opponent doesn't block, and then you win.
Who would have thought? Alrighty, you're right. And does Zen play Lightning Bolt?
Zen plays 1 lightning bolt in the main.
Oh, just to flashback with Breach for 3 times, right?
Yeah, alternate win condition. You don't have to mill out your entire library and cast a Thassa's Oracle. You can, of course, just resolve a few lightning bolts. We do see it in the graveyard there, though, I believe. So certainly not going to be in hand. And it all harkens back. Open deck lists. Nick knows there's only 1 lightning bolt.
Right. There is actually a lot of one-offs in his list here. I'm seeing a lot of even lands. There's a lot of one-offs.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you're milling through your entire library and gaining access to it as you combo off, as we'll hopefully see in one of these games, so that what I'm discussing makes sense here, you only need 1 copy of these cards. You don't need to have 4 of them.
Also, it makes it really easier to think through the possibility of what card's going to appear. If it's just a one-off and it's already in the graveyard, you know it will never come back. So it kind of makes the calculations of like, oh, I need this card to win.
This would be a really good slow roll if Zen is thinking here, finding the lines, and then just has an Underworld Breach in hand.
Right.
Can we see that? Can we do that?
So you're right. So here you can see that Zen has attacked with 2, and Nicholas just realized, I don't need to block the other one. Maybe he values the Bowmaster, right? So this token's going to die. He's going to go to 2. If he has the Breach in hand, then he kind of just wins though, right?
If he has Breach, he plays the Breach and plays the Lightning Bolt, and that's all she wrote.
Right.
Not to mention the combo lines.
Crack. Draw a card. You take 1 from the Bowmaster. Well, he draws first, but yeah.
Okay.
Does Nicholas realize? Yes, he does. Fantastic. Take 1. Do you think it would have been... Okay, he scoops it up. I was wondering if it was right to double block.
Sure. I think it was with the knowledge of deck lists and the fact that there was only 1 lightning bolt there. I think that it would be sort of over-optimizing. You're playing around lines that just don't exist. If there was an Underworld Breach, you were dead regardless.
Yeah, true. Yep. Alrighty.
Well, let's look at sideboards here. Zen losing game one there has options in the sideboard. We could be looking at Flame of Anor. We could be looking at Nature's Claim, which we'll come back to. Beseiju, could be Pithing Needle, perhaps Vampire's Vengeance, Spell Pierce, Unholy Heat. Quite a few options there.
Yeah, Unholy Heat, I can see him being a premium removal card in this matchup, right? Because I'm not sure if the Hollow One player is going to go really hard on trying to mull down to the Graveyard Hate, because he already has a bunch of creatures to put on threats, right?
Looking from the Hollow One sideboard, I see 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Thoughtseize, a Blood Moon, and perhaps a Surgical Extraction. I mentioned the Nature's Claims in Zen's sideboard. They're not so good game one. They can hit a they can hit a Hollow One and not much else. But knowing that there's 4 Leyline of the Void in this sideboard, because as you see it on the table there, that is Nicholas's deck list in front of Zen.
Yeah, he's definitely looking at those sideboard options that are definitely going to skew the matchup a lot. Because, yes, he can destroy a Leyline of the Void with the Nature's Claim, but if a Leyline's in play, it is very hard for the Breach player to win.
Yeah, I mean, there has been players that I've seen at this very tournament who have just grinding station over a few turns, sacrifice some clues, sacrifice these extra artifacts. We even had one on camera that played a Thassa's Oracle with 5 cards in library. Not with 0, but with 5.
The hard way.
Using the Blue Devotion, sort of the mechanic as the card was intended rather than removing your entire library.
Right. Do you think Blood Moon is something that's going to be floating around in this matchup for Nicholas?
It's tough because on one hand, Blood Moon is really good. You know, you're against a 3-color deck, narrowing them down to 1 color, taking them off Nature's Claim. That's great. On the other hand, your opponent has 4 Mox Opals and 4 Mox Ambers. And enough other artifacts to turn those cards on and have access to great mana without their mana base.
Yeah. I guess potentially, like, in the matchups where, you know, you're versing Tron or something, you're versing something with, like, very greedy mana base and strong lands, where a Blood Moon is very effective. I think that makes more sense, I guess, in those matchups. And where you can just put in threats quickly, block them out with the Blood Moon turn 3, and then you just finish them off and they can't do anything, right? But in this matchup, yeah, they even have Spell Pierce, right? You know, the Breach player has lots of options, from counter spells to removal to actual creature removal. There's lots of options here.
All that being said, though, if there was a Blood Moon in play in that game, Zen would have had 0% chance instead of a narrow chance. The Construct tokens were the only thing that kept Zen in that game. And Blood Moon makes Urza Saga not a factor in the game at all.
Yeah, right, because with the interaction, you know the rules pretty well. Interaction with the Urza Saga and Blood Moon.
Yeah, if it has any lore counters on it and there's a Blood Moon in play, the rules say that Saga has no abilities, which means it's resolved its final ability, and that means that we're putting it in the graveyard.
Just dies instantly, whether it's in play or you play it. Done that mistake once. I just did not realize the Blood Moon was there, played it, and then it goes to the graveyard.
Yep.
Just fueling that delirium.
So we're here at Regional Championship 8. This is the first of our 2 semi-finals. We're going to be featuring both of those, this one, and then we've got Waiting in the Woods. We've got Thomas Bott on Colorless Eldrazi and Sebastian Verncombe on Breach. So they'll be queued up to play as soon as these players finish their semi-final.
No, it's cool that the players get a little bit of a break. A little bit of a...
Oh, yeah, they get to have lunch. They get to compose their thoughts. Perhaps, you know, check out what information they have about their opponent's deck list and see if there's anything that they need to study for the matchup.
Yeah, and just sideboard in more consigns.
For game 2, sure. Not for game 1.
No, just buy more consigns at the vendors.
All right, players presenting here for game 2. We're about to see some 7-card hands.
Yeah, nice. It's really great to see, you know, some modern coverage. You know, love seeing a format that I you know, love and dearly.
Nick's hand here. I see Fatal Push. I see an artifact. I see a couple of lands. I don't see a Leyline of the Void.
Yeah, don't see any big black rectangles.
Zen's hand, I see a Urza Saga. I see some lands. I see a blue card at the back there, perhaps a Tamio,
I'll be honest, I want to see little sharks.
and a Flame of Anua.
What is that shark?
Marauding Mako.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to see this shark. I've heard about it, and it makes sense that it comes straight in the deck, but I just haven't seen any sharks yet. It's a new card, right?
Brand new card, fresh out of Aether Drift. A Shark Pirate. What a creature line. As we see here, Zen keeping a 7 and Nicholas throwing it back for a 6. I love a lot of the flavor and the flavor text and the silly designs in the new set. I won't quite say that they've jumped the shark, but they've certainly raced it around the track a couple of times.
Yeah, right. And the hilarious part is like, there's obviously another version of this card that had existed, but this one has cycling as well.
Yeah, Flameblade Adept being the original. Nick looking at a 6 here. I do think that is a Leyline of the Void in the center there, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps 2 Faithless Lootings, a Fatal Push, 1 land. I think that's a hollow one at the back there.
Right. Are you... Oh, we haven't actually seen any hollow ones, even though it's the name of the deck. Are you happy that Faithless Looting got unbanned?
Faithless Looting is super powerful, but generally the decks that abuse Faithless Looting are generally easy enough to answer if they don't have other busted cards forcing them to the top of the metagame. Cards like Hogak, Risen Necropolis, for example.
Yeah, Hogak did nothing wrong. So Zen here, just playing a turn 1 Steam Vents into Tamiyo, which is a very powerful play. He's going to get some value of getting some clues and attacking with his Tamiyo, which will probably never get blocked, I'll be honest.
About the best turn 1 you can hope for without a Mox backing it up. That must not have been a Leyline of the Void in Nicholas's opener here, as we don't see it in play currently.
And I think we're getting some similar lines that we saw earlier, which is Fetch Shock, Bolt the Bird.
It does have flying. I guess you could call it a bird.
No, but, you know, I'm just harping back to Australian slang, right?
That's it. Always bolt the bird.
Always Bolt the Bird.
And
Oh,
we're
no, it's a
going to-
push. We're
We're
pushing.
going to push the wizard.
How does that work, though? She's flying.
I don't know. I've never tried to push an object that was flying and see whether it...
I guess you can push it really hard. Alrighty.
Turn 2, Urza Saga. Some would say that's the best turn you could play an Urza Saga.
That is very good.
You know, if you play it turn 1, it's hard to activate that second ability on the second turn. If you play it on turn 2, it's very easy to activate that second ability on the third turn.
Yeah, right.
White-bordered mountain and a Faithless Looting here out
Very
of
nice.
Nick.
Yeah, Faithless Looting is good. Carve your hand a little bit. Don't see any graveyard hate in play, but a Saga can get some more graveyard hate later.
I see a hollow one in hand. I see 2 hollow ones in hand. So if we have perhaps another discard effect, we could cast both of those this turn.
Yeah, haven't seen any Street Race yet, but maybe we'll see it now. There we go.
That's the card I thought was a Leyline. It was a
Yeah.
Street Wrath.
Pay
Okay.
2 life, draw a card, discard a card, and then you can play a hollow one for free, I believe.
That's
Cause-
right. Hollow one being made cheaper by every card that you discard for the turn. You know, Faithless Looting doesn't get you any extra cards, but it does add to the number of cards you've discarded for the turn.
Wow,
Here we
2
are.
hollow ones? Excuse me? Wow. And the Street Wraith is, because you have to investigate for 6 mana, which a Street Wraith is 5 mana. So they've been able to play 2 hollow ones. I believe he should have 2 mana tap, right?
Both hollow ones cost 0 mana.
Yeah, but he played a Faithless Looting, didn't he?
That is true, yeah. The second land should be tapped for bestowing that Phoenix here. But what a turn 2. 2 hollow ones, one of them with haste. Yeah, an attack for 6 on turn 2, and I have 10 power on turn 2. How wild is that?
That is wild. And like, hollow one doesn't have haste, yet now it does because of this Phoenix.
Yep, 6 across this turn, 10 across the next turn as it lies. That's pretty impressive.
Wow. And this is showing the raw power of what hollow one normally does, right? It
Yeah, that-
gets some 4/4s in very fast.
That first game was a little bit of an outlier, to be honest. Sort of the slow grind, a Bowmasters and discard spells. This is what the deck is about. And that is a cool hollow one as well. We need to call attention to that. The white bordered hollow one, that's not acetone or, you know, sharp
From
in
a
on the
list.
white border.
Yeah.
That is from the Mystery Booster 2, I believe.
Yeah, they had a certain list of cards up here, right?
Mystery Booster 2 has been super popular this weekend,
Yeah,
I gotta say.
lots of people playing. There was like 50 players there.
All right, Zen's third turn. Just to land it on Mox Opal. Mox Opal not looking to activate this turn, but does grow the construct potentially if a construct was to be made.
These hollow ones in play is very reminiscent of Vintage, where Bazaar Baghdad is just discarding a bunch of cards and playing some hollow ones for free.
We see another fetch shock here for Zen on 9. So as the status quo lies, this is a lethal attack. From shocking, from fetching and shocking, and from the 6 on the first turn, and a Nature's Claim is the play, taking out one of those hollow ones.
Right. But the Phoenix still survives. it just drops off. It's like, I was carrying you.
That's it.
But
4
now
life gained
I'm here.
here as well.
Yeah, 4 life gained, actually, yeah.
And 4 taken for Zen. 19 plays 5 on turn 3 as Nick plays a third land, looking to flash back this Faithless Looting.
Yes, very powerful spell. We all know how strong Faithless Looting is.
So it looks like 4 cards in hand. I see another Faithless Looting and
Leyline.
2 ley lines being discarded. Wow.
That's actually pretty good. If you have dead ley lines in your hand, you might as well discard them.
Are they dead?
I mean,
Let's be real. He's got 3 lands in play.
that's true. I forgot that he can cast them. Yeah, people play colors in their deck now.
That's right. Normally, you have very much so historically seen Leyline of the Void in any color of deck. The advantage of playing it in a black color deck is that you can actually just pay the mana cost to put it into play.
Right, just casting it as a 4-mana enchantment.
That said, putting it in the graveyard increases the odds of you getting this Phoenix back from the graveyard. If something was to happen to this Phoenix, putting these 4 cost cards in the graveyard, be able to get them back.
I think Zen here was wondering like, oh, I play the Saga, I go get my Soul Guide Lantern, and it nukes their graveyard this turn, as he's doing now. And, the graveyard will be no more, I don't care about it. But, okay, he gets a Haywire Mite, interesting. That's going to be able to kill... No, it will not kill, sorry, it will just gain life. It cannot, it can't destroy creatures. It's non-creatures. So it can block. It is now a blocker. It will gain 2 life. This Mox Amber does nothing. But yeah, so I thought he was going to get Graveyard Hay, but I guess there's nothing in the graveyard, so there's no point getting it there.
Yeah, the other thing that this Haywire Mite did temporarily was activate the Mox Opal. Of course, the Mox Amber being the 4th artifact in play here, so at least one of those Moxes can tap for color.
Right.
But that means that this construct is a 4/4.
True. Yeah, it can trade with the hollow one. I think Zen, probably was heavily relying on the Tameo making the construct really big. You can see the line there where you make a bunch of clues, your constructs get bigger. But yeah, unfortunately, it met its demise with the lightning bolt.
Yeah, Nick has certainly taken the controlling route in both of these games, with heavy on the removal spells, on the sort of disruptive effects of Burning Inquiry, and Zen just hasn't been able to cobble together a plan.
I think Lord of the Rings is entering the battlefield. There we go. I'm assuming this is probably going to shoot the Haywire Mite, which could block... Oh, it's going to shrink the construct.
Yeah, that's right. So this Haywire Mite looking to take one from the Bowmasters. When it dies, there will be 2 life gained.
Yeah, so what he's doing here is, I think he wants to sack it and exile his own Mox Amber. That way he can prevent the Bowmaster from making a token, because he's trying to fizzle the target.
Yeah, it's very specific in its wording that the Bowmasters, if you don't get to, you choose a target, any target, creature, player, planeswalker, and then deal 1 damage to that, and then make an army. If you don't get to deal 1 damage to that because that target is gone, we're gonna be quick on the judge call here, as the judge at the table. We'll pull him up for that one there. But yeah, if you can remove the target of the Orcish Bowmaster's ability, the army won't be created.
Yeah, right. So, because the construct is a 4/4 now, right?
Right this second it is.
Yep.
Pairings for round 1 are up.
It looks like the Haywire Mite in play is also in a foreign language, which may have led to the confusion here.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the semi-finals. This is a a professional rules enforcement level event. There is in fact a judge sitting at the table, ready to jump in when these mistakes happen.
So in with the team now, we got the Phoenix attacking for 2 in the air and the Hollow 1 getting chomped up by the construct there.
You really wanted that construct to be a 4/4 to trade with the Hollow 1, remove the problem. Instead, I mean, I guess we can find a surveil land, see if we can find something good on the top. Does Zen have any cards in hand?
Not sure, I can't see that, but it's kind of like very lucky and very heads-up play that Nicholas was able to draw the Bowmaster and play it pre-combat, right? Because if he was to attack first and try to play a Bowmaster in response to any spell, like a cantrip or whatever, then, it would have been a different story. But making sure, understanding that he's trying to clear the blockers here. But yeah, let's see if Zen has any cards in his hand.
So look, Zen has at least one more turn here if he draws an Underworld Breach. We do have a few cards in hand. I saw an Ottawara there.
Although he's only got 3 mana, so kind of tricky to
True, the
bounce
Noxus
something.
don't actually tap for mana, and that's it.
That's it, wow.
We're done.
All she wrote. And there's a Lollybot. He's like, I got a Lollybot anyway.
Still had all of this.
Now, Zen was undefeated.
Zen was undefeated. As we pop back into the booth here, and we can actually talk about Zen's path to making it to the top 4.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
Welcome back into the booth, Regional Championship 8 here in Sydney, Australia. Jim Dowling, I'm joined by Lee Hung Nguyen.
Yeah.
That was a very quick top 4 game.
Yeah, it was very fast. We're expecting kind of like, that matchup though. It's aggro versus combo. But there was a lot of hate pieces. There was just a lot of Bowmaster action, a lot of graveyard hate. There was a lot of back and forth and respecting the opponent.
Very disruptive stance taken there by Nick as Nick secures his spot into the final. Zen actually played against 5 Breach Mirrors yesterday.
So many.
On the path to the top 4, the top 8 finish, the top 4 finish. Perhaps the Breach list that Zen was playing specifically tailor-made for the mirror match.
Makes sense. I mean, Breach was pretty high in the meta today, right?
Breach was actually the most played deck in the room, coming in at, I believe, 26% of the players. I believe we have a lovely graphic with all of the information there about what people played. But Breach was the most played deck. Orzhov was the second most played deck. Gruul Eldrazi with a third place finish there in the how common was it, and that deck also made the top 8. Didn't make it further than that.
Yep, Henry Sams, yep.
Boros Energy didn't make the top 8. Titan didn't convert to the top 8. Demir Frog did have 2 decks into the top 8, both unsuccessful.
And the 2 colorless Eldrazi players made top 8.
It is very cool to see that of the 3 Hollow 1 decks, one of them has made the final.
Yep.
And of the 2 colorless Eldrazi decks, one of them's made the semi-final, one of them's made the quarterfinal. It's possible that they make it all the way to the final.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about archetypes and different decks, people always said in the community, like, Zoo beats Boros, right? Because it's just, you can't beat a Scion, it's
Slightly
so hard.
bigger creatures, yep.
But if we're talking, when I walked into the room yesterday, I was just like, it is a 5-deck meta. And everything on the right-hand side.
Truly.
And I just also think Amulet Titan players will just always play Amulet Titan. They just don't care what the meta is. They're just like, we always just play our deck. We love our deck. But for the rest of the decks, that's what the whole room was filled up with. So it's really nice to see Mono Blue Belcher doing really well yesterday as well. Hollow 1, we got one of them in the top 8. 2 colorless Eldrazi aggro Fleshraker decks in the top 8. So good on Team Brown team, Browntown team. Shout outs to you guys. But yeah, it's really, really crazy that so much grinding Breach.
Well, that was our first of our